Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and in today's video, I'm going to review my collection of bespoke black Captoe Oxfords. Those that watch this channel know that I have a soft spot in my heart for a black Captoe Oxford. Here are just my collection of black Captoe Oxfords, and it is 5 pairs of bespoke shoes. And you'd think, and it's certainly not wrong to ask this question, what does one need with 5 pairs of black Captoe Oxfords? Well, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through some of the differences of these incredible shoes and show how a bespoke shoe is much like a piece of artwork. Even though they are all effectively the same, they're all individually different. And that is because, of course, a bespoke product like this is a product of human endeavor and work and really craft and artisanship. And each one of these shoes, despite being effectively the same, are in fact uniquely different. And that's one of the things that I love. And that's one of the things that I love about the bespoke process. That it is a relationship between a customer and an artisan. And it is that relationship, that depth, that makes the bespoke experience all that more enriching. Now, these black Captoe Oxfords really represent the entire span of my bespoke journey, beginning with the very first pair of shoes that I commissioned, all the way leading up to the most recent pair of shoes right here to my right, your left. And then in the middle, we have an incredible journey of different relationships, different countries, and different nuanced differences between these shoes. Now, let's step back a little bit and talk about what is a bespoke shoe versus a ready-to-wear shoe. Now, we have a really interesting video on this channel. It's actually probably one of our best performing. I compare a pair of $400 Allen Edmonds to a pair of $500 Carminas, to a pair of $1,100 Edward Greens, and then finally to a pair of $1,400 or $1,600 Goodyear and Girlings. And I talked through the nuanced differences that is offered to a customer at those different price points. The difference between a pair of Allen Edmonds for $400 and a $1,600 pair of Goodyear and Girlings is actually quite dramatic. But it's in the nuance, it's in the finer details. And for someone that truly loves shoes, it's those details that really speak to our heart. Now here with bespoke shoes, we're going up a higher level above that, right? Goodyear welted, ready to wear, made in a factory, right? Not personalized for your foot or the shape. And then you have bespoke, which is completely made by hand. Now, in addition to being made by hand, literally sewn together, I mean, with the exception of the different pieces of the upper of the pattern being sewn together with the sewing machine, everything is literally done by hand, the same way that it's been done really since the beginning of shoemaking, which stretches back hundreds of years. Now, in addition to being handmade, one of the other things that really separates a pair of bespoke shoes from a pair of ready-to-wear shoes is the fact that they are built upon a bespoke last. A bespoke last is literally a wooden representation of your foot around which the shoe is built. So with the ready-to-wear model, you have stock models and sizes that would approximate the shape of your foot. And you get a good fit depending on how close the size is or how well the shoe is made. But on a bespoke shoe, the whole foundation of that process really begins with the bespoke last and a bespoke last maker taking measurements of your foot and then transmitting that into a solid block of wood around which the shoe is built. Now it is that last, that wooden representation of your foot, that should allow a pair of bespoke shoes to fit perfectly and then really be designed around the shape of your foot. I have a pair of bespoke lasts right here. These are from Francis Wafflinger, which is a bespoke shoemaker based in Brooklyn. He hasn't made one of the pairs of shoes on this table because he made a pair of brown Captoe Oxfords, which aren't represented here. These are only black. But you can see it's a solid block of wood that is being shaped with a file and being built up with different leather pieces to represent the shape of your foot. Now then, around this, the shoe is built. You can see on the bottom, right here, where as that upper is being stretched over the shoe, it is then being nailed onto the bottom. Right? You can also see that, this isn't a simple flat bottom of the foot, that even the bottom of the last is representing the shape of the bottom of your foot. So we have your arch being represented here, the ball of your foot like this, any, drops in your heel or anything else should all be reflected onto your wooden last so that whenever the shoe is built around that, it fits as perfectly as possible. Now this might seem trivial, and you might ask yourself another common question that we get often, which is, well, why go to all the trouble to take measurements and then do this by hand, whenever with today's modern technology, we could just simply take a 3D scan of your foot and print out a last. And really almost everyone, with the exception of Carmina, a shoemaker based in Mallorca, has largely failed at that effort. And the reason is because there is a creative tension in shoemaking between creating a well-fitting shoe that is comfortable and creating a beautiful shoe that still has a visual pleasure to the eye. Those are really at odds with one another for most people's feet because, let's shape it, a foot-shaped shoe wouldn't be beautiful. The whole purpose of the bespoke process is to not just create a well-fitting shoe, but a beautiful, well-fitting shoe. And it's only at the hands of a skilled last maker that has a great eye and a true talent are those two seemingly contradictory and always competing interests able to be balanced to create something that is both well-fitting and beautiful. And we'll see those here as I review these shoes with you today. Now, one of the other benefits of the bespoke process is that once you have your wooden last created, there is no need for fittings or further measurements, say like if you were having a bespoke suit made, where really any bespoke tailor that's committed to the integrity of the product is going to insist on fitting every single garment because even if they have a perfect pattern, the way that the fabric drapes and interacts and whether or not it has play or stretch can dramatically alter the fit of the bespoke garment, really even using the same patterns. But with bespoke shoemaking, once you have your pattern settled, it's set, a shoemaker can take your shoes straight to finish, and every single pair is going to fit exactly like the previous one. And a bespoke shoemaker can go straight to finish, and every shoe should fit exactly like the other. It's one of the great benefits of bespoke is that consistency, where whenever you go to put on your shoes, you know that they're going to fit perfectly. And now that consistency may, of course, differ amongst shoemakers. But if you're a normal person, unlike myself, that might have one, maybe two shoemakers, that should be true. Okay, well, now that I'm getting into this, I'm really going down the rabbit hole. I keep on saying the last thing, but there's really so much more to talk about. So there's another thing that I'd like to talk about whenever it comes to the difference between a pair of bespoke shoes, hand-welted bespoke shoes, and factory-made Goodyear welted dress shoes. So let's start with what bespoke is, right? So I've got another shoe here. This is a hand-welted shoe from Stefano Bimmer. It's not bespoke for me, but it's a model of their highest level that is a completely handmade, hand-welted shoe. Now the hand-welting, right, is this little bit right here, right? This is the welt. And this actually was a significant innovation in the world of footwear because what it allowed was for a pair of shoes to be resoled without having to take it all apart. So this welt and the welt stitch is what is effectively holding the entire shoe together with the exception of that outsole. So it allows a pair of shoes to be easily resoled without effectively coming apart and thereby dramatically extending the life of that shoe. Now, one must remember that back before the modernization or industrialization of shoemaking, all shoes were made by hand and shoes were expensive. And so it was certainly the case that if you had a nice pair of shoes, you may have had just one nice pair of shoes. Hand welting was invented. It dramatically increased the life of the shoe because it allowed it to be easily resoled. Now this is done totally by hand. And what it's doing is basically this welt thread is attaching the insole, right? So this is the bottom of the insole that you see, and it's sewing it to the interlining, any type, the upper, which is, of course, the outside leather of the shoe, and then the welt. And it's holding all of that together. And then after that's done, then the outsole is sewn onto this, and it can be easily taken off, and a new one sewn on without disrupting all of this. Now, this was very important, certainly in the late 18th century, whenever it was invented, and we still see it used today. There's a few advantages to this that I'll get to in a moment. But to compare that to what is seen with a factory-made shoe, This is a pair of Carminas, incredibly well-made Goodyear welted factory shoe. It is still welted, right? So you have this piece of leather that is holding everything together, except instead of it being sewn directly into the insole, you have what is right here called a rib. This rib is a piece of linen or composite fabric that is effectively glued to the insole, and then a machine stitches everything together. And so it sits vertically up, right? And that's what allows the Goodyear welting machine to stitch that together. This is then you see the shank, and then this cavity or void is filled with hot cork, with this what you see right here. And you've got about 4, maybe 5 millimeters of cork filling that is needed in order to fill that cavity because of the additional void that is created by that rib. Now, with a hand-welted shoe, you effectively don't have any of that. I mean, this is as close to that outsole as possible. And the difference that I like in this too is the difference between a Ferrari or a BMW M3. Now, are they both absolutely fantastic cars? Absolutely, without question. But there is something to be said of that Ferrari when compared to the BMW M3. That is because it's lower to the ground, the tolerances are tighter, that it is a more responsive, sportier, and more capable car. That to me is the difference that I like in between a hand-welted bespoke pair of shoes, which would be that Ferrari, and even an incredibly well-made pair of factory-made Goodyear welted shoes, which would be this Carmina. The void that you have, the increase in that void through the Goodyear welting, does create a different feel. To say that the other way is that, because of the hand welting, your foot is able to be just that much closer to the insole and just that much closer to the outsole and just that much closer to the ground. It creates a shoe that is more responsive and in many ways more flexible and more comfortable. It's a nuanced detail, and it is one that can only really fully be understood once you own a pair of bespoke shoes and are able to feel it for yourself. So I could try to describe that. You'll think I'm crazy, but I can absolutely say that I can feel a difference with my bespoke shoes versus a Goodyear welted shoe, and that there is no question that the bespoke shoes, not only are they more comfortable because of the last, but that little bit of difference in height between a factory-made Goodyear welted shoe and a hand-welted shoe is something that is perceptible. Now, of course, here in Kirby Allison, we have an entire library of content really documenting these nuanced differences and just the craft itself. You can see our factory tour with Graziano and Gerling in Northampton. That was the first factory tour of a Goodyear welted factory that we ever had. You can see our most recent one with Carmina on the island of Mallorca, looking at the way that they construct their incredible shoes. And then you can also, of course, see the commissioning of all of these shoes right here. So if you haven't seen those videos, make sure you check the description of this video. Give us a thumbs up. I'm going to list them all there. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to just take a quick commercial break, which is to remind you that if you enjoy our YouTube content, make sure you hit that red subscribe button, give us the thumbs up, turn on your notifications so that you can receive an alert whenever we publish new videos. And don't forget that the best way to support the content that we film here online on Kirby Allison is to go to kirbyallison.com. And it is certainly what allows us to travel the world, exploring the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Now, on kirbyallison.com, you'll find the largest collection of luxury garment care and luxury shoe care accessories in the world, like the great Saphir shoe polish that's responsible for these beautiful shines. But you'll also find a bunch of other incredible products, like this beautiful sovereign grade necktie that I'm wearing, pocket square, braces, over-the-calf dress socks, and really so much more, including a significant collection of luxury smoking accoutrement for those that enjoy a fine cigar, which those who watch the video knows that I certainly do. So make sure you take a moment and visit kirbyallison.com. Okay, back to the video and back to the big reveal, which are these 5 pairs of bespoke black Captoe Oxfords. And we're going to talk about the differences between all of these shoes. Now, first, allow me to go through and just identify who made each pair of shoes and give a little bit of a background of each. This right here is my first pair of bespoke shoes. These are George Cleverley. which is based in the Royal Arcade in London. They travel quite extensively through the United States, and this is where my bespoke journey began. I bought these shoes for myself really to celebrate being accepted as a member into my first London club. These were my Clubland shoes, the idea being that, these were the shoes that would be, quintessentially appropriate for St. James's Club. And they are. A black Captoe Oxford is without question the most versatile shoe anyone can own, and it's certainly the de rigueur in London. Now, these are George Cleverley. I own many pairs of George Cleverley, although I don't really work with the firm anymore. And it's a great pair of bespoke shoes. Of course, George Cleverley is known as a West End shoemaker. They're famous for the so-called twisted last, where basically the last is allegedly twisted a little bit, and it doesn't causes the shoe not to sit flat on a flat surface, but whenever it's worn, it's meant to twist and become more comfortable and sleeker. Now, the other thing that you'll notice on these shoes is the suspiciously square toe. Again, it's one of the hallmarks of George Cleverley, which is a slightly more fashion-forward shoemaker, and their slightly square toe shape is really the iconic calling card of this particular firm. Now, they can do anything, but this is 99% of all the shoes made at George Cleverley have this cap toe, and it is what people really come to expect. George Cleverley, back in the day, this is the original George Cleverley, the shoemaker, not George Cleverley, the company, really was responsible for updating that classic, very conservative British aesthetic and making it slightly more fashionable. And that's where the suspiciously square toe came from. Great pair of shoes. You can see that they're, very well worn, beautifully well made. And these are my first pair. We'll go into some more details later. But second pair of bespoke Captoe Oxfords, and these, I guess, technically would be semi-brogues, but I kind of classify them together, are these shoes from Dimitri Gomez. Now, Dimitri Gomez is a shoemaker, a bespoke shoemaker based in Paris. What's unique about Dimitri Gomez is that he is really a one-man shop. He makes everything beginning with the lasts all the way through to the shoe trees. He is the only one, or the only one's hands who will touch your shoes. That has its advantages, it has its disadvantages, but that's Dimitri Gomez. Now, this is a very interesting shoe in that it has this nice almond shape to it of the cap toe, right? And another thing you'll see is absolutely no toe spring in the front, which is a little bit of a gap between the toe and the surface, right? And so this shoe walks a little bit flat because of that, but it also creates a shoe that whenever you're standing is perfectly flat against the ground and beautiful. Now, this is a semi-brogue, right, referring to the broguing of the holes that you have punched in to the leather. That gives this a slightly less formal aesthetic than, say, with these simple black Captoes from George Cleverley. Great shoe. You can see beautiful finishing in the bottom. These have been very well worn. Toe plates right here, and beautiful pair of shoes. Next, we have a pair of shoes made by someone that I've developed a very close relationship over the years, and that is no stranger to anyone that watches the channel, and that is this pair of Dominic Casey bespoke shoes. Now, Dominic Casey is a real legend amongst bespoke shoemakers in London. He is a character, full of life, incredibly generous with his time and sharing his knowledge, and universally respected amongst all of the bespoke shoemaking trade. He is incredibly talented, and in recent years, I guess it's probably been about 10 years now, has broken off and begun to work really exclusively for himself. Dominic Casey is much like Dimitri Gomez in that he is making everything himself, from the lasts to the patterns to making the shoe. He does send his shoe trees out because any normal, sane person would do that. There's firms that do a great job at bespoke, fully lasted shoe trees. But this was the first pair of shoes that Dominic Casey made for me. And, as we were working through this project, of course, you can see all the videos documented on this channel. The question was, what was the shape of the toe, right? So this is, as you're having a shoe made, even with something as standard and simple as a black Captoe Oxford, This is one of those questions that one can have with their bespoke shoemaker if they so choose. In many ways, it's like styling a suit, or it's like having a discussion on how style with a bespoke tailor. Now, Dominic, knowing me as well as he did at that point, came up with a totally unique, really a one-of-a-kind toe shape, and that is what he called, the Kirby Clubland Negroni soft round toe. This is, again, beautiful, and what I really appreciate about this is that it is a traditional round, but it's not too round. It still has enough shape and sculpture to it that it is, it's not a like a pair of Allen Edmonds with just kind of a, really uninspiring round toe cap. The other thing that I really appreciate about this shoe is the vertical loft, right? So it has a beautiful three-dimensionality, not just in the shape looking down, but also in, the vertical kind of shape and sculpture of this toe as well. He sewed this, the outsole on, I think with like 12 stitches per inch. I mean, very fine level of workmanship. The uppers are beautifully finished. The outsole, beautifully finished, right? Right here on the heel, perfectly executed, exactly as you would expect from a shoemaker like Dominic Casey. Then, knowing how much I love black and black Captoe Oxfords, Dominic made another pair of black Captoe Oxfords for me. Except this pair was made out of pigskin. Now this, again, is a very special material, one that you would only find in a bespoke pair of shoes. It is effectively the same shoe, right, but made out of what is effectively a textured leather. So this is pigskin. It's not embossed. But what I love about the pigskin is that it gives the shoe a beautiful visual texture to it that certainly differentiates it from a simple pair of calfskin shoes. And so even though it is simply a black Captoe Oxford made around the same last as this one right here, it still has a very unique and distinct character to it. And so this is one of my favorite pair of shoes. I have this in brown as well. And I think pigskin, again, is one of my favorite materials because it is unique, it's different, and it is uncommon. Beautiful finishing to the outsole, right? Perfect around the heel, and otherwise absolutely beautiful, flawlessly executed shoe. And one that if you're someone that is wearing black Captoe Oxfords often, or black shoes often, these, even though they're very much the same and could be interchangeable with one another, maybe with the exception of not wearing these in the evening and night, they're different, and that's what's fun. And then finally, we have my most recent commission and my newest pair of bespoke shoes, and these are my bespoke John Lobbs from, of course, the original John Lobb, located on St. James's Street, not the one that is owned by Hermes. Again, beautiful pair of shoes, black Captoe Oxford, but very distinctly different from all of the others on this table. This has what is a very traditional and classic toe. It is very identifiable as John Lobb, but again, the proportions and the sculpture of this is very elegant. Actually, I have found myself really enjoying this particular pair of shoes, not just because it is my newest pair of black Captoe Oxfords, slightly wider, extremely comfortable, and beautifully made and executed. We're currently documenting the entire process of these shoes being made online at Kirby Allison on YouTube. And it is the most extensive and complete documentation of a pair of handmade, hand-welted, bespoke pair of shoes being made that I think exists on the internet. So you can check that out here. They're all black Captoe Oxfords with a few little design differences. Broguing across the cap here, pigskin, simple black Captoe Oxford, right? Again, semi-brogue. Right here we've got broguing not just along the cap, but along the rest of the shoe. And then again, traditional black Captoe Oxford. Now, when you look at these, the first thing that you'll notice in terms of their differences is going to be the shape of that toe cap. Here we have the soft square or suspiciously square George Cleverley. Here we have a beautiful almond shape from Dimitri Gomez. Here we have the Kirby Clubland Negroni Clubland soft round from Dominic Casey. Here we have another version of the same shoe. And then finally, we have the classic John Lobb round aesthetic. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely different, and there's no question that these are distinct shoes. They all fit beautifully. They're all really supremely comfortable. And I would say that, really, with a few exceptions, are mostly made to the exact same exceptionally high quality standard. All hand welted, all hand lasted. The patterns for these shoes are really being individually designed for the specific last. It's not a stock pattern, sewn together by hand, and then made with the utmost care. So there you have it. This is my collection of black Captoe Oxfords. I'd love to know what you think in the comments section below. Amongst these shoes right here, which do you think is the most beautiful? If I had to get rid of all of the rest and only wear one pair, which pair would you choose? Now, I can't answer that question because it's like asking someone who their favorite child is. I love them all. I love them all differently and for their own unique characteristics. And again, it's been fun going through the journey of having these shoes made and experiencing, the different manifestations of that bespoke journey with different makers. You'll see that they all have beautiful shines. Just, of course, to plug, this has been done with the Saphir Mirror Gloss and Pat Deluxe shoe polish, widely considered by shoe aficionados as the best shoe polish in the world, available online here at kirbyallison.com. And the Mirror Gloss really is probably the most revolutionary new shoe polish, at least in the last several decades. It is a much drier, much harder wax than a traditional Pat Deluxe that allows you, as an at-home enthusiast, to develop a beautiful mirror shine like what you see on these shoes much more easily and much more quickly than just using a traditional polish. You'll see that I have a black mirror gloss and a navy Pat Deluxe. That's because on black shoes, I enjoy to play around with both of these. And another product that is absolutely essential for a mirror shine like this is a high shine chamois. These are our Kirby Allison Wellington high shine chamois. It comes as a pack of 3. They wrap around your fingers and allow you to buff that wax to a beautiful high gloss shine. So let me know what you think. One bonus pair of shoes. Okay. Now, whenever it comes to black Captoe Oxfords, as it turns out, I have another one, right? But not really a Captoe Oxford, but kind of a Captoe Oxford. So we've got one final shoe that we are going to reveal that is actually quite an interesting pair of shoes that you may have not seen before unless you watch this channel. And that is these George Cleverley Seamless Wholecut Mock Semi-Brogue. Now that is a mouthful, and this is a very unique pair of shoes because it is actually made from a single piece of leather. There's not a seam anywhere on this shoe. Now the broguing, right, you see on the upper is meant to imitate the lines of a pattern, but are simply stamped into that same piece of leather. And then if you take it all the way to the back, you see another point of distinction that is exceptionally rare, and that is there's no seam even on the back heel. This is a single piece of leather, again, being stretched over the last and then made. And so what's unique is that, again, it's a single piece of leather. You still have this design that is a real, in some ways, a visual play on the eye, but it is a seamless hole cut. So there we have it. We'll add this over here in the George Cleverley side of the room. These are my bespoke black shoes. Just black. We haven't done a full update of all my bespoke shoes. Maybe we need to do that sometime soon, but these are my black ones. These are my black lace-ups. I have black casuals as well. But anyway, there we have it. So let me know what you think. This ended up being a much longer video than I had anticipated, but those that watch this channel know a passionate shoe collector. I love shoes. I find that the sculpture of a beautifully well-made pair of shoes is something that is just gorgeous, something unique, something truly inspirational. And then the idea and the nostalgia that a pair of bespoke shoes can be made for you today by hand, by someone, exactly the same way that they've been made for well over 100 years, is just so extraordinarily uncommon this day and age, where everything we surround ourselves with is anonymously manufactured, industrially. So there we have it, my collection of bespoke shoes, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comments of this video. So there we have it. I'm Kirby Allison. Thank you for watching today's video. Of course, if you haven't visited kirbyallison.com, please take a moment to do so. It is how we support this YouTube channel. It is not how we support this addiction. That is supported through other means. But no, in all seriousness, I truly do appreciate everyone's business on kirbyallison.com, because it allows me to do what it is I love, which is traveling the world, exploring the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Thanks for watching today's video, and I look forward to hearing what you think in the comments section below.